interesting thing about your movie, why I made a curator's pick of the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Community, heart, you're doing it.
This is another great episode of the Film Review. What's going on, people? This is another great episode of the Film Review. Movies, music, culture, politics, and society. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crayzon Deeyon
Tracey.
And we review movies, music, culture, politics, and society. And do we have a great one for you today? But of course, as always, before we get started, I have to ask, how was your week?
It's great.
Great.
Great week.
Great week. Took in a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Saw we saw a couple of films that we're going to be talking about tonight. And we're also going to be asking the question, is there too much porn? That's one of the questions that we're going to be asking tonight. And we're going to set that up in a second. Also, we're going to be talking about John Wick 3, Parabellum.
Yep.
We're going to talk about What's My Name, Muhammad Ali documentary.
Yeah, that's a good documentary.
And then we're going to be talking about the new show. You know, we keep on producing new shows from the Film Review, and the latest one is called Bars.
Right.
We're going to be talking about that. The Bronze Bomber, Deontay Wilder.
Amazing fight.
Is he
Amazing.
the only true heavyweight in this era? Now let's see what's in it. Too much porn.
Yeah.
And are we seeing the purge of black shows on TV like they did in the 90s? Are we starting to see that purge with the Xing of Steve Harvey and the Xing of Lee Daniels?
Yes.
Two shows. Are we seeing a replay? Something in how we've often talked about how Hollywood does this. Once you think that you're at a certain level, they just cut it off before you can even get to the plateau. So we're going to talk about that. And what does Monique think about what happened to Lee Daniels and Steve Harvey?
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about that.
Yeah.
But first, I'm going to be doing some population and sharing real quick. So I'm going to go through that real quick. Let me do this and you can fill in.
You know, while you're populating, Javon.
What's going on? The infamous DJ Remix.
Hey, Remix.
Watching. Thanks for chiming in.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Javon, one of our film review members, he sent in a very, very interesting article. And I am going to open it up. It's regarding the SAT exam scores. So what they're going to do to balance out the scores due to actual unequal education, they're going to give students an adversity score and be it to level the playing field.
What's an adversity score?
What it is an adversity score is assigned by the College Board of the SAT exams based on the student's family income, environment, educational differences. Now, they know that there is an educational difference, so
they
clearly, they've been on this. So why don't they take care of it? Why don't all of the kids have the same books as wealthy students? Why isn't all the technology modern? Why don't they have the same items in the classrooms? You know, then they wouldn't have to give an adversity score because it'll be an equal educational playing field, but they don't want to do this. But anyway, so what they're going to do is, in an effort to level the playing field in the highly competitive college admissions process, they are going to, it says 50 schools used a new indicator as part of the beta test last year, and the College Board plans to bring more than 150 schools into the fold. So they're going to give them additional points. 33 parents were charged, well, because of what heightened this is because of what happened with the 33 parents that were charged with the.
What's the score? What's the score? I don't understand what they're trying to do here. Is this a quota system?
Yeah, it's what they're going to.
I mean, it seems like a quota system. Didn't they fight to get rid of a so-called quote-unquote quota system
which
when
really
they got
benefited
rid of
them?
Affirmative action?
Which the affirmative action also included women,
Right.
which meant it included white women. So
They kept Title IX, but they stripped away the benefits that would help those who were disenfranchised in this country. It was never supposed to be part of the franchise, just the property of the franchise, right?
Right.
So I mean, what? So they're coming up with a quota system.
Yes, but so what it is this adversity score number is calculated by what I mentioned, but along with assessing 15 factors.
What's the 15 factors?
They didn't go into detail. They just said that they mentioned the income. What did it say? They just gave you a few.
Okay, so
family income, environment, and educational differences. Those are the three they mentioned in the article. Mm-hmm. But it is based
this for
on
minorities,
15
or is it for,
factors.
Or is it for bringing back affirmative action, or is this just for minorities?
You know what? I guess it's for minorities. But they didn't say minorities, so I'm not going to assume. I think they're talking about like an income. Yeah, because they said it's based on a family income. So this includes Caucasians, Asians, not only blacks, but Latinos. So what they're doing is based on family income across the board. So it has nothing to do with race.
So it seems like it's just the same old okey-doke to me, right?
Yeah, they said this can better help admissions officers determine an individual student's social and economic background.
Okay, so now that we discovered that the rich cheat as far as trying to get their kids into prestigious schools.
Right.
Now that we've just discovered that.
Right.
Not that it wasn't already. This is a battle, people, which is really not our concern, but let's address it. It's a battle between old money and new money. The good old boys club versus the people who are coming in with the new money, trying to find a way to possibly overtake the good old boys club, because the good old boys club didn't let them in, even though they had money, even though they had new money. They weren't old money, so they weren't letting them in. The old money are the ones who believe in incest and marrying within the family and bringing out babies that are kind of whack in the head, you know what I mean? Kind of like that documentary we saw on the DuPont air, who were killing the women.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't they let him get away with that or something?
Yeah, he got away with it for years.
He got away with it for years, but then
he did something else and got it. He was numerous people he had been accused of.
Wasn't he eating
murder.
them or something? It was something like that where he was eating them or something. I mean, it was just ridiculous, right? Just ridiculous stuff, but they just let him get away with it, and he did what he wanted to do.
So that's what they're doing now, and they're looking at the taking into account the crime rate, poverty rate, housing values, vacancy rate, just So that's what they're working on now.
That doesn't seem like that's gonna be a fair playing field, if you ask me.
He said, maybe we'll throw this out there at them, and then they can stop talking about that reparation stuff. That's what they're doing.
That's interesting.
So it's allergy season, right?
Yeah, speaking of allergy season, do you know, people, that the wind is blowing?
Yes, windy.
Like no one's business out there.
It doesn't matter if it's cloudy or sunny or, it's just windy.
Let me tell you, it's blowing out there, and this is we have this thing called, For people who don't know, it's called desert fever. We talk about it all the time because I have my mask on all the time because in the desert the wind blows and it blows like it blows up and it just blows, and it's incredible what it does. And I see people standing out there, they're laughing, joking, smiling, the wind blowing, going on in their mouth. Little babies out there probably catch colic and all kinds of other things, along with the heebie-jeebies or all kinds of things coming through coming through the air because they've been building out here, shaking up the ground, and so it's a lot of that. Right?
So that's why it's good to get boil somewhat hot water and add a little ginger and turmeric.
And turmeric, yeah, absolutely.
Drink it helps with the inflammation in the body.
Right,
Helps.
That's right. It helps. Thanks, Dr. Sabi and all the other holistic doctors out there. But so the scandal with the Hoffman woman, she's only going to be sentenced to what? What is it? A couple of years? Maybe less?
You can't.
I think it was months.
That's
right?
just a slap on the wrist. They'll report one thing, and then later you'll hear that the person received probation. So who knows if they're going to actually give these people, if they actually have to do the years supposedly sentenced to them, because there are,
Right.
So they say devil's in the detail.
The devil's in the details, and she's gonna come out, and it's gonna be all right.
He'll come up with something
else, and it's gonna be all right.
Slapping on the wrist.
So they've been purging people.
Right.
Now you've seen that. We talked about that. That was one of our very first original episodes of the film review.
Right.
And we reviewed The Purge.
Purge 3, great film.
That's right. And you should go and definitely listen to that, because is there a purge going on? Are we seeing the beginning of the purge of black subject matter, black entertainment on television, besides BET, being purged from off of the other networks? We could really say that I believe that we started to see the purge with the Underground.
Oh yeah, that was a great show.
Great ratings they had.
Yeah.
John Legend, executive producer, and they were talking about maybe Oprah could pick it up, but we just found out that it doesn't appear that Oprah is as rich as she appears to be, because now she's going back to someone else's network after selling majority stock in her network back to the people who already own the network in the first place. I don't know what that's all about, but we found out that she really isn't as wealthy as it would appear, because she's going on someone else's network to do what? Have a talk show. Interesting.
I wonder if the purge started further with Melissa Harris when she was on MSNBC.
I think she was.
Her and Tamron Hall, they purged them off of NBC really quick.
Yeah, you know what? That could have been where the purge began.
They purged them off really.
Because, wasn't that around the time? That was like midway.
Yeah.
For Melissa Harris, period. That was midway Obama's first term, right? That was in her.
When at the second term, because
at the top of it
seemed like they kind of, because we talked about how it seems like they're trying to move people off of television really fast before Trump, the whole Trump thing.
Well, it wasn't time yet for Trump. I think
Trump was getting ready to run.
No,
wasn't he?
That wasn't time yet. Because we're going back now, because 2012, Trump was nowhere near that. He was still talking about Obama's birth certificate,
right,
and saying that he wasn't a citizen.
But I thought
stirring all that
been
up.
Gone for what?
I thought it was 12.
3 years.
I thought it was around. I thought it was longer than that.
Because John Reed show has only been on for what? How many years now?
I don't know. Look it up real quick so we can keep on. Make sure we have the exact facts.
But yeah, I think people should be careful of what they wish for, because for all those people who were complaining about Star and Empire and Steve Harvey and Okay, so who's representing you now on television?
They say that they're getting ready to bring Kelly Clarkson on in place of Steve Harvey. I don't know who's gonna. No, I won't be watching Kelly Clarkson. But anyway, listen. So we can say it started then, but because they did kind of purge NBC. They got rid of Tamron Hall. They brought in old girl that they
From
still
Fox.
had to pay out. Her show flopped,
Right.
and they still had to pay her out big money. So that was just the good old boys club
Joan
working
Reeves
at
show
it.
started in 2016.
Oh, 2000. So
and they got Melissa off like in 2015, 16.
Yeah, it was like
as soon as they
the
cleared her
time.
out, So this was around.
Right, it was around that time.
Yeah.
Okay. So it has been about 3 years since
Yeah.
Melissa hasn't been on. So you can say the purge started then, but you started to slowly see it because then the conservative concern took over TBS, and they didn't want underground. They didn't want Harriet Tubman running around freeing the slaves,
Right.
and all the messages that John Legend was helping to get into the zeitgeist, right? Or we can always supposition and say that's the reason why they did it, because it had great ratings. Whenever they cancel something that has great ratings, you wonder why they were going on ahead and do that. So it's
like
been a
Steve
purge.
Harvey, they say had great ratings.
Yeah, he was
right?
number 4 amongst everyone on television during the daytime. He was number 4.
Right.
Right? That meant that
With
he
1.8 million.
Yeah, so that means that he was getting through to various demographics.
Right.
And not just the black demographic, but a lot of black people
Right.
were watching him, and he was getting through to all demographics, and people were watching, and they were entertained, and they were informed, and they liked what he had to say.
Right.
So the purge is happening. To me, it seems like there's a purge going on because Lee Daniels, Star, and Empire.
Right.
Now, Empire was a soap opera.
Right.
For anyone
like
who,
any other.
It was just like Dallas or Dallas.
Knots Landing,
or
Dynasty,
Knots Landing, yeah,
or
Dynasty.
television. What's on now? Like General Hospital's still on. People's Days of Our Lives.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
and it was surrounding a family, right?
Right.
Star. Hey, what's going on,
Shantae?
Shantae? Thanks for chiming in. Star, on the other hand,
Right.
is a religious picture. It has a religious series. It has a through line through it, which goes back to Oscar Micheaux and his films, which there was always a religious element to what was going on in the story. It's not beating you over the head, but it is giving you this religious pathway, right?
Right.
Hey, what's going on, Shanine?
Hey, Shanine.
Thanks for chiming in. Star has a religious framework to it. Empire is a soap opera.
Right.
Right.
Are you finished populating?
No, I'm still going, but I'm moving on to the next thing, but I'm staying on this for a second. So both are, to me, as I watch it, excellent programming. One deals with both deal with situations within the music industry, and they sometimes cross-populate, and some stars from one show will be on the other show representing the other show. So that's good, right? I have to say, if this is truly the beginning of the purge, like what they did in the 90s, where you saw all these black shows, and then all of a sudden the
Living Single,
management, matter of fact, Living Single,
Color,
but Living Single was #1 in its time slot.
and Living Color, right?
And Living Color.
And then Martin, and who else did they get rid of? What's the show with Malik Yoba and
yeah, I know what you're talking about. New York Undercover.
right?
right?
Right.
All of these shows,
which were doing really well in the ratings, right?
Right. But then all of a sudden they just let them go for whatever reason that they let them go, right?
So this is that all over again.
So is this what we're seeing? So if this is the beginning of this, and people are so, I mean, I guess people will be happy to see Empire go. I guess they'll be happy to see Star go. And what I was thinking was, well, if this is the Purge and you wanted something else other than what you saw on there, and you had dreams of yourself one day possibly on TV, nobody wanted to see your ugly face on TV. Facts. Because within this time of in between 2008 and 2016,
so you're saying all of the people who were against black shows, black directors having shows.
That's right. Against directors who were really talking and spreading the opinions of the European Americans about the shows being on, really helping them to find a way to end the shows. For all that time, because this was what you would consider the end of the Obama era, as far as let's see who came in. Tanya Johnson Jones. Hey, what's going on, Tanya?
Hey, Tanya.
Thanks for chiming in. The thought process and saying that this is 08 to 06 to 2016 is the era of Obama, and the mojo is starting to wear off because the new people who are coming into management into these studios and these stations and these networks are now more on the conservative side. And what goes along with conservative side is the racist side. Now, if we get cut for a few minutes, that's how YouTube does it. When you start talking, Facebook does it. When you start talking about something that they may not want you to be talking about,
well, we have
they
to
will
say,
cut
we forgot. We have to start off the show.
No, wait. Let me finish this. We can come around to that. Let's finish that, because this all wraps around to what he was talking about.
Okay.
So we will bring it to him.
Okay.
All right. So the mojo is wearing off, and now we're looking at people coming in who are more conservative, and as they are more conservative, they are looking to strip away. So for all those people that were so happy that or so complaining about Empire, and they always stayed on Empire. They really never talked about stars, but they always talked about Empire, not so much Star, right? For all those people who complained, I hope you're happy, because you will never see your ugly mug on TV, because it's going to be a long, dry era before, if this is what's going to happen, they're going to start canceling shows that are on top of the ratings, or in there fighting in the ratings, like Steve Harvey and Star and Empire.
Marlon Wayans show was hilarious.
Marlon Wayans show, they just cut him off. Carmichael.
Yeah, Gerard Carmichael show.
Yeah, we just finished watching a documentary.
A Little Real Deal with one season.
One season, they cut him, and he had names. He had Sinbad in there.
Right.
These are seasoned actors, and like you say, or seasoned comedians. And when you see seasoned actors who are able to convey comedy, or seasoned comedians that can convey comedic acting or serious acting in anything that are black, you are seeing some of the best acting that there is on screen, because of what continues to have to happen. You always have to get canceled. You have to do this. You have to jump around. You have to go to this network, get a deal. Go over here, go get another deal. Meanwhile, people who have flops, they come up with another idea. They're greenlit. If they're European American, they can have flop after flop after flop, and they keep on coming back. So, for those who were happy to complain about Empire, do not think Hey, what's going on to Shondell Newsom? I see he chimed in. For those who were happy to complain about Empire and Star and everything else, you will never see yourself on TV, because it comes down to, if you're in the, I never understand this. If you are an entertainer and you are in the entertainment business, you should not be criticizing your fellow entertainers, because you don't know you should have a feeling of what they had to go through, because it's a long, hard road, right? And never criticizing your brother or your sister is very important. Like, you can sit up, now there's people who you would criticize and say, hey, you know what, why are you selling out, or whatever. Right. But when there's quality programming on, it's a scripted piece about a particular family like Empire. It's not real. Right. It's fictitious. Right. Star is not real. It's fictitious, but it has elements of what's happening. Both shows have elements of what's happening in the business of entertainment, right? Which can be sketchy, but it's entertainment. It's not to be said to be something that's supposed to bring you through, right? It is supposed to teach you anything. What's going on, Tyler Jones? T. Jones, thanks for chiming in. It is an entertainment. It's not something that's supposed to be considered real, right? Which brings us to something that is real, which is today is May 19th. Yep. And we are celebrating Malcolm X's birthday. Yep. El Haj Malik El Shabazz. That's right. He would have been
born May 19th, 1925, in Omaha, Nebraska.
He would have been 97. Right? Wow. That's something else. He would have been 97. And you know, as always, Crazy D is when it matters. Crazy D is always on time. You know, we have the presentation that's right below this of the Malcolm X tribute from last year. Once you finish watching us, make sure you go there and watch the tribute. It's a 45-minute documentary featuring Professor Leonard Jeffries. Got to do an in-depth interview with him, one of the thought leaders in the struggle to be free. We'll say that. And so Malcolm is a tale in not necessarily criticizing your people, because you never know how that will come around and come back, right?
Yeah, because like even Mary, the gospel group, they talk about how they're criticized because their music is considered not Christian enough. It's more pop, right? And then it's just like there's always some type of criticism.
But yet the same people who criticize will get up and go on a show like Howard Stern, with a gospel choir singing to Howard Stern.
Saw that on The View.
We saw that on The View. I mean, it's like
Kirk Franklin gets criticized.
But these same choirs will go sing with Kanye West. Which there's nothing. But see, what I'm saying is there's nothing wrong with that, because it's all black culture, right? And you're spreading black culture, you know. So people could criticize and say, hey, what you doing going up to Howard Stern, singing to Howard Stern, who has, through the years, we know that he's a reformed, I guess, bigot now, but in our opinion, he was a bigot then. Some of the things he would say were funny, you know, but other things were very bigoted, and it caused another generation of youth, of young European Americans to have racist views. And some went full, didn't just separate and just move into all white neighborhoods. Some of them actively move in to be racist and eugenicist and white supremacists, which is a whole nother category off of bigotry and prejudice, right?
I just don't want us to criticize ourselves out of spaces.
Right. Exactly.
You know? And like, hey Sharon.
Sharon Griffin chimed in. Crystal English. Med chimed in. What's going on with
Crystal.
you?
Like with the whole Steve Harvey incident, right?
Right.
So it's just like, okay, so now they took his television show away from him. And then Monique and her husband on their podcast, he did an excellent job. Discussing how Steve Harvey actually owned his own show. Like NBC didn't own that, right? So then they take away, he hosted Family Feud. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be gone now, right? And then his talk show, and then the show with the kids. And then it's just like, you know, and then taking away Lee Daniels' show. And then, you know, it's just like on and on and on. And then will we have any black representation on television?
See, it's about ownership. Nation of Islam taught you about ownership, right? Owning your own, doing for yourself, right? So Steve Harvey owning the rights to all of his product and the film, he can go on and use it for later use and other things, whereas usually people who they sign deals like the Wayans, when they signed deals with Fox for their show and Live in Color, all that was taken away from them.
I hate the way they do the Wayans.
The way they do the Wayans like that
they
all the time.
They own that franchise, right, with the scary film, and they took it away from them.
But then Marlon learned.
Yeah.
And Marlon owns his.
Now,
right?
Yeah.
So they learned that you can't always believe what is told you. Matter of fact, you should believe very little that what European Americans tell you. You should believe. You should know about the lies in the textbooks. You shouldn't listen to everything they say. So listen, about Malcolm. A lot of people, which I believe this is no aspersion on people or criticism, or this is just an assessment. When Malcolm came back from Mecca, he came back and told the people that people there who would be considered blonde-haired, blue-eyed devils were praying to the east and praying 5 times a day in Mecca, and took the journey there and walked around the black cube or stone, or what it's called, not familiar, but he said that these people would be considered Jackie like. What's going on, Jackie like chiming in? These people would be considered blonde-haired, blue-eyed devils by the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? Okay. From that,
hello, Artisha.
Hey, what's going on, Artisha? Thanks for chiming in. From that, people took that Malcolm had changed his whole program, and that he was more accepting of European Americans in a way. And I said no, and I think that was a scapegoat for people to use to say, well, if they only learn this, then they will accept us better, and we can still be around them. That's what I see, right? And see, what I notice is European Americans will come in, they will do something, they will have something to sell. They will sell it all throughout the black community. Black people will help them take it around. And then you know where they're going when they leave? When they leave the black community after they sold it, they're going back to their lily white neighborhood. That is facts, right? And why would I, as a conscientious black person, want to help someone live in a lily white neighborhood which is really segregated from me, right? They found a way to make it segregated by putting it in a price point that a majority of black people are not able to get to, right? So they will always have just a speckle of 1 or 2 or 3, right? So people take that and say that Malcolm all of a sudden changed his tune about, and that's not true. Malcolm X formed the Organization of African American Unity. Right?
OAAU.
No, well, actually,
Organization.
African American Unity, OAAU, because he based it off of OAU, Organization of African Unity, after he came back from Mecca, right? Guess who wasn't in the Organization of African American Unity? Just to be clear, European Americans, they weren't there. He told them, like he told, he said that in the autobiography, he said that if he could do it again, it was a young college student that came up to him, female.
You'll see this in Spike Lee's film.
And she
X.
comes up to him and says, "What can I do? I really don't know." And he was thinking about back to his past because he had that sickness. Right. He had that sickness of liking that blonde hair and blue eye. He had that sickness. He had that sickness. So he lashed out at her and said nothing and walked on. Right. But he said if he could do it again, he would tell her, go to your people and talk to your people and tell your people that they do wrong, right? That's what he said that he would say. Right. And this is what Malcolm was when you really understand it. There were no white people. There were no European Americans in Organization of African American Unity. Right? Yeah. Right? And he was saying that if they learned, they could be reformed. Not if they learned, they would treat us better, so then we could still be around them. Two different mind states. Two different mental thought. If they could learn true Islam, or if they could learn true Christianity, or if they could learn true Buddhism. Right. Any of the religions that we have named. Right. Then they could be reformed and then find themselves truly finding their way to paradise, to the kingdom of heaven, to reincarnation. If they could learn and come to heal and not feel that they have white privilege, right? So this is what Malcolm was talking about. So Malcolm did not change his views. He just changed his tone and his rhetoric, but and the way that he would deliver something. But if he came back from Mecca and if we declare our rights on this earth to be a man, to be a human being, to be respected as a human being, to be given the rights of a human being on this planet, on this earth, on this day, by any means necessary. If he changed his views, that's just a cop-out for people to say, well, if they learn, then we can still be, they'll like us, and we can still be around them. Stop it, right? Which gets us to what's happening with Lee Daniels and Star and Empire. Shanine said Star was just getting to their stride. Fox sucks. Isn't it true? They left it and canceled it on a cliffhanger. Yeah. The Murderous Wedding. I don't know what it was called, but I would call it the title, like the Red Wedding from
Game of Thrones.
Call it the Murderous Wedding.
Right.
It's like they just hit their stride. They were coming around. Right. The story was getting more on who I thought it should have been about, which was about the black girl. I forget her character's name.
Alex.
Alex, right. It's really her. It's really her show. It might be called Star, but she was really the star, right? And so they cancel this out, and then we get to Steve Harvey. Now, when Steve Harvey did the Shanine said, "What's up with Steve Harvey? What's up with Steve?" Okay, this is what's up with Steve for me. Steve was playing the game. Right? He was playing the game because he owned his own stuff, but he was playing simple. Yeah. When you own your own stuff, you own your own publishing, you own your own copyright, you own your own film, you own it, and you getting around people who are you know that are treacherous, then you kind of play the game and you play like ooh do 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 do. But I said when he had Monique on the show and his editors let him down.
Yeah.
I don't know who his editors were, but they let him down on that one part because they let something out that shouldn't have been let out.
Yeah.
He used the wrong word about integrity. That's not what he was talking about. When he was saying integrity, he didn't mean to say integrity. He said, do you think about pride?
So that's
what he was really saying. Do you think about pride? No.
Right.
If it's pride, you'll take the slings and arrows because you have a greater purpose, which is seeing your people through, getting to where you were at, where you were going to be. The word was, does he have pride? He wasn't talking about integrity because Steve Harvey has integrity. Right. This is what what they let out in the piece was the fact that he let Monique know that he was playing the game. And when he let that out and the editors did not take that out and that went across the airwaves, then the people who thought him to be nothing but a fool, we're talking about the people who have the power to greenlight things, right? Because he was working on being the first person to own a billion-dollar company, right? That produced its own situations and had full, complete ownership, right? Being only distributed, being like Master P was in music, having owning the majority and just having them distributed out over the airwaves. That's what he was working on. And when he sat there with Monique and his editors didn't take out the part that he said that he was playing a game, that went across the airwaves. The people the powers that be who were thinking of him as just a good boy, they said, wait a minute, this guy's got something more going on upstairs than what we thought, because he is a Clevelander, so he's got more running, right? I'm just editing up. We're gonna be talking about the new hey, what's going on, Gary Jackson? Thanks for chiming in. We're gonna be talking about the new episode 2 of the film review music review show, and we've got a great lineup from all around the country and the world coming on there. If you haven't watched episode 1, you can go right on to vimeo.com / what's it called? /showcase / by Crazy D. And you can watch it right there on your TV set in your city. Right there. You know what I mean? By bringing down the Vimeo. But anyway, listening to what Cleveland talks about in the music. Of course, you've got the rah-rah, and you got some ratchet, you know what I mean? But there is, even within that, there are lines of consciousness within the music. And so, knowing where Steve Harvey comes from, knowing that he comes from the northeast side of Cleveland, Ohio, which is nothing to play with, southeast side either, west sides either, south or north, west sides either. There's nothing to play with there, right? You'll be lulled to sleep. You'll wake up with no pants on, no shoes, no socks, none of that. But anyway, knowing where he's from, what he was talking about. So he was sitting there and he stuck his neck out for Monique, right? And it just went, after that went stir crazy. The people, they were protecting him, and then all of a sudden the ex-wife was coming out with Me Too claims that he was striking her and stuff. And my thing about that is, I've known many strong women in my time. And what's going on to Jerome Mooch Harry chiming in? I've known many strong black women in my time, and I've never known many that I knew of that actually took the butt whipping when I was giving it. Okay, that's one thing. That's one thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like the dormant thing, like what you would hear, what you see in films. It's not that.
Right.
There's always some kind of return.
Right.
You know, where you know where you're standing, right? And what you're supposed to be doing. Okay, so they were protecting for that. So now they want to say that was part of the reason. But the real reason is with Monique, he let some things out, telling her about how she should have played the game. Now he was playing the game. Not that he should have just told her she should play the game.
Like that should have been like a private conversation.
A private conversation, but he let it out.
Yeah.
And even they say on their podcast that they said something that was left out, that he said to them that let them know that he was on their side genuinely.
Right.
So whoever his editors were, in my opinion, they let him down on that. And this is start. And I said after I saw that, I said, and I saw all the people talking about he was a coon and a Uncle Tom and all that. And I said, they didn't listen to what the man was saying.
Right.
They didn't listen one bit. So Monique was on her podcast, her husband, her and Sydney.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how people are sending in, linking them to Steve Harvey and all of them. They're falling apart. And they said that why should we have glee? We don't have glee or happiness when another one of our brothers are taken down.
Right.
And like when I saw this, before I even saw what they had to say, I'm saying that if they're taking these people away, they're most likely going to replace them with European Americans, and you're not going to see yourself on TV, and you're going to have to be subject to the milquetoast business that you usually see on TV. And I said, wow, like what's really good, what's really going on is a problem. So Monique was also like, you know, no glee about it, and that if they take it off, what are they going to replace it with?
Right. Well, Kelly Clarkson
for one thing. If they take it off and they don't replace it, but you start seeing more European American shows coming on where you might have one black token in it. Yeah. Right? What's going on, Kenneth Dorsey? What's going on? Thanks for chiming in. If they take this off and they only show and they only have the one token black person in the film, this is going back to what they did in the 90s. Living Single. Yeah. I mean, we got all kinds of stuff. Martin. I mean, tons of different. Damon Wayans. Right. Yeah. D.O. Hewley.
Wife and kids.
D.O. Hewley show. I mean, we had.
D.O. Hewley did a great interview with Steve Harvey on his show.
Right.
When he talked about when Steve Harvey met with President Trump.
Right.
And Steve Harvey was, Steve Harvey, I don't know if people know, but he has so many, like many great programs, like in the black community. And so he went to talk to Trump about that, like programs that he have. But they set him up by having all the media all around with all of these cameras, as if he was like being a traitor to his people and meeting up with Trump.
And when they came down the escalator, Trump said something, and there's Steve Harvey standing there.
Right.
And that's something that we weren't talking about and we didn't agree with, but he did him as a photo op. Right? So Shanine says, they stabbed Steve, huh? Should have known. They're trying to stop Ice Cube and LL Cool J too with their sports channel. Well, here's the update on the sports channel. Yeah. Guess who got the sports channel, Shanine? Yeah. Byron Allen. Right. He got the Weather Channel. Right. And he got those sports channels. He bid and he got it. So if they can somehow come together and work it out, maybe they can do something. But Byron Allen, that's right. Byron Allen got it. So Steve, so it's real sad. They saw what he was going for, And they decided that they would go on ahead and crunch it. And they say, well, he doesn't have support from his own people, so why should we even worry about it?
His people are complaining.
They're complaining about
all over social media.
And so, why should we do that? So, Monique, let me make sure I have all the notes here. So we have, so she said, don't feel happy because that's karma, because it's going to come back on you.
Right.
But what she said was, this happens and then we won't see anything. And so for all those people who always complained about Empire and they were and wanted it off because they said it was a bad representation of black people, and it looked like to me it was every time they was trying to get out, something kept on pulling them back in. It's a Jay-Z lyric. You like Jay-Z, right? It looked like it was just written off of Jay-Z lyrics, right?
Right.
And so they kept pulling them back in. They had love. They were doing it. So they granted them a closing season, and they should have granted Star a closing season because it was, like Shani said, getting on his stride, and it was really starting to move.
Right.
But then think about all the people who now are unemployed, who had to not. They can't work, and they're gonna have to. They were sending their kids through schools. They were basing their 401k off of this, and they said, "Oh, we at least with where we're going with this story, we've at least got 5 more years. We're such and such in the ratings. We're." So we're gonna be here for a while, and come to find out that they pulled a plug on them, and it's just the same old thing playing itself out. And people who are not aware, I swear the people who talk negatively, they really don't have any historic base. They don't study, they don't read, they don't see how these things happened before and they will happen again. When you do not have the story, you haven't read the history on it to know what's going on. So I think Byron will Fox will go down in flames. I don't think so. The Fox did this in the 90s. Not going down in flames. As a matter of fact, Disney bought Fox.
Yeah.
And we thought Fox was going to be redefined. Instead, Disney started bringing the Fox anchors on The View on their ABC Disney network.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
So it's really the only thing that you can trust is that when it comes to money and bigotry and racism sells, and upliftment and consciousness doesn't. And until that starts to shift and flip around, you can be guaranteed that this will continue to happen. So don't feel happy, people. For all those who saw this, if this goes into the drought because the mojo of President Obama has lifted and all the people have turned conservative. I remember when Clinton left and Bush too got in there. Yeah. Bush Jr. When he got in there, European Americans changed. They got a little bit more bold.
Oh, okay.
Right? Whereas they seemed more nice when Clinton was in there, because whoever's in the head and whatever they're pumping to them,
they mirror.
Right. So you got to know that in the history too, so you'll know what's going on. What Shanine say? Same folks watch Power but dogged Empire. Same lost folks that booed Foxy, talking about they want Kim. I don't know what's going on in this world. Fox will bring back another black show to save them. Right. Yeah,
they're good for doing that, to bring themselves in in the red?
In the black. They got when they go in the red, they need to bring a show to go in the black. So,
and that's when they use black programs.
But it'll be far and few, and it'll be years before they do it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
As soon as the money runs out,
they'll do it, and then the fever will break. Right. We talked about the fever when Reagan was in there, and how in the later years, then black men started getting jobs back in those professions that they had after they found out that Reagan suffered from dementia and Alzheimer's. Right. Then they started to then hire back. But by then, that was a whole gap of 6 or 7 years that destroyed more of the gains that the civil rights movement had brought about in the 60s and a couple of decades before that. So, you know, it's just having a grasp of his story, our story, and the story in America to be able to figure it out. So, it's sad, but I like what Monique said. Yeah. We would like to get to, we'll probably interview Monique one day. Get to talk to her and really sit down and get some real gritty information, right? So that's it. We finished talking about that. So now, we went to the theater.
Great film.
And we saw John Wick 3, Parabellum.
Yep.
So, you know, what's his name?
Great cast.
Go ahead. Go through the cast.
Keanu Reeves.
Him
as John Wick.
He's John Wick.
Halle Berry. Oh my gosh, you have to see this film. This is like one of the best roles I've seen.
Halle Berry. We'll get to her.
She was kicking butt. But Halle Berry's in the film. Lawrence Fishburne. Ian McShane. Angelica Houston. Jason Manizokas. Asia Kate Dillon. Lance Reddick. Great cast.
Great cast. Okay. So, for anyone who knows, these are serials. Now, for those who don't know, when films came out and they started getting into talkies, or they might have started in the silent era, they would have serials where you would go to the theater every weekend or maybe every day, and you could see the continuation of this serial, right? Which would be episodic, right? So, John Wick is episodic, right? So you went through 1, you saw 2, we're on 3, it leaves you on a cliffhanger.
Great cliffhanger.
We're going on to 4, right?
Yeah.
So this is what John Wick is. So when you're sitting there and you're looking at some characters, you say, this person should just get it. And then you find out that it's going to be a part 4. So it's going to be a part 4.
Yeah, well, they said that this film, John Wick 3, brought in more money over the weekend than the Avengers Endgame. So I can just imagine what John Wick 4 is going to bring in, because John Wick 4 is going to be crazy the way it ended.
So wait a minute.
Good.
So if it brought in more money than the Avengers,
Endgame,
did it bring in more money than Panther?
No.
Did the Avengers, with all those superheroes,
right,
where they bring in Panther in the last 15 minutes of the film, did that film do better than Panther globally? Well, I don't think they did. Right? Okay, so Panther's where it's at. And hopefully, with this purge that's going on, we will see Panther in 2020. Hopefully, he won't be.
I thought it was 21.
21. That's right. 21. Hopefully, he won't be blackface in it, and that's when and they change him up. Now, speaking of video, have you seen the old road video with Little Nas X and what's the girl's father's name?
Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus' father, Billy Ray Cyrus. Have you seen that video? There's some cameos in it. Chris Rock is in it, and they start out. Now, the video is pretty, it's entertaining. It's funny. It's only one thing, though. The Little Nas X character, when you watch the video, he has no agency. And what I say about that, he's getting away. It's a 3-man posse. It's a 3-man posse, right? And you see Little Nas X at first, right? And then you see the 3-man posse, which is all black, which is Chris Rock and 2 other guys.
2021, Black
2021, right. So 3 others, right? And then you think that it's just him riding, but then next thing you know, you see Billy Ray Cyrus, right? Now, Little Nas X is holding the bag of money and he's galloping, but he's not galloping with agency, like looking back and saying, yeah, we're getting away from him. He's jumping, he's galloping and jumping around like Stephen Fletcher.
Well, who's the director?
Stephen Fletcher, and he's like this.
Yeah. Well,
And it's like in his eyes, he's like this, right? And he's like this, and he's got the big bag of money, right? But he's like this, and it's like he doesn't have control of the horse. So then they stop. Now we in European, we read left to right, right? We read left to right. So that means that usually the star of the film is on the left. So when they get off the horses, little Nas X is to the right, right? And Billy Ray Cyrus is to the left. So we read left to right. So when you look at the screen, it goes left to right, and you're looking, or maybe I should go like this because we're backwards. But anyway, left to right, and it goes like that. And so you're seeing there, and you're looking at it, so you see Billy Ray Cyrus, he's sitting there with his guitar, and he said, last time I was here, this is the little X guy, last time I was here, they weren't too keen on strangers on the old road. That's the name of the song, that's where they are, old road. So then it's a, what happens is, as you see little X rolling up through a window, and it's a white girl standing there, and she looks out the window, she says, daddy. And then so you got to put it together when he says, last time I was here, they weren't too keen on strangers. So you have to put it together, right? So then so then the father comes out, and he cocks a gun, and he turns and he starts firing, and then little Nas X jumps into this hole, and I was like, well, does he have the money? That's what I was thinking automatically. Did he have, because he had the bag of money, but then he went running, he jumped in the hole. I said, did he bring the money with him? So when he comes out the hole, it comes to 2019, and he's in the same place where it's 2019, and it's all black people, and the little black boy is looking at him like, because he's dressed in cowboy outfit, right? So then the song starts, and then he starts singing. He's riding his horse, and then the people are looking, and so you had to see the video. So that's funny, but it's just that he should have played it with agency and not played it, Stephen Fletcher.
Wouldn't you say the director has a lot to do?
It's like the director, but then if it was Method Man or Redman, Method Man would say, or like, remember when I did the 48-hour film festival, and the guy said he wanted the character to be comic relief, and I said, no, I'm going to play him like this. I played him more serious, and that's what stood out in the film, right? Because they have a certain attitude that they have towards black characters, right? So he should have just played it more straight. So that's on him as the artist, because this is a #1 song, and I've listened to it. I've listened to his version, and it is a well-constructed song that he constructed in his basement. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, the story behind that, did we rate?
No, go ahead.
John Wick, we're gonna get
we're gonna get back to that. That was just a side note.
But the story with little Nas X is Billboard quietly removed his song from the country chart because they felt that his song wasn't a country song. So Billy Ray Cyrus jumped on the remix, and then Billboard accepted the song back on the country musical, on the Billboard country music.
Once he came on.
Once Billy Ray Cyrus joined in on the song.
Not to mention that country music is our music.
Right.
It's like we made this, and they know that if it's just like hockey. Hockey is ours, Nova Scotia, right? Expatriates that went with the British, during the colonial wars, and went and settled in Nova Scotia, and then came up with hockey. Okay? So that's ours. Country music is ours. And they know that if anyone ever breaks through, it's a wrap.
Like they didn't want Beyonce's song, but Daddy Lessons on a country chart. They didn't even want her. She performed at the awards. This was a few years ago, and they really didn't want her there.
Not Keisha Cole.
It was a great song.
The that stood up there in the bar and told them that she could out
Oh,
sing.
K. Michelle.
K. Michelle, she can sing country, right? And she's been trying to sing country for a while.
So they've been trying to block black artists.
They will have white artists come over, European American artists. They can sing R&B, try to rap.
Sam
do all
Smith,
that kind
they call him Blue Eyed Soul. Him and what's her name? The Chasing.
Her. The
21 album.
Yeah, her.
Yeah.
But anyway, but then the other way, they don't don't touch the country.
Right.
Don't touch any of that. Don't touch the country. But anyway, Shanice says Fox will bring back another black show. That's true. They put 21 Bridges back to September. That's the new film with Chadwick.
Oh, they pushed it back.
Mm-hmm.
That's the deal. I was talking about her.
Shani said, well, damn, we invented everything. This is true. This is safe facts. But anyway, look.
Yeah. But we can have Adele and Sam Smith and, prop them up in the black community and hear them played on black radio. And
we are so accepting. We have to start being more discerning with our ear just because, it sounds good and they can do a good emulation job. That doesn't mean that they're there to accept you, because as soon as Justin Timberlake made enough money, he became a man in the woods and married a woman, in my opinion, had no rhythm, and they moved up into the woods, and that's who he is. But before, he was in sync and singing those soulful songs with the curly cues, and now he's a man of the woods. But anyway, so we can't. John Wick. So here's the thing with John Wick. John Wick is gratuitous violence. The only thing John Wick doesn't have in it is misogyny. That's the only thing it doesn't have in it. Everything else, and it is so over the top.
In which it's supposed to be.
It is so over the top. It is things happening in this film that you are supposed to suspend your belief on, but it's really not possible to suspend the belief. So anyway, he plays John Wick.
When you go to see a film, you're supposed to suspend belief.
He's not a superhero.
He's
Listen. Anyway, let's go through the cast real quick. I want to get to.
I did.
Okay, you did?
Yes.
Wait a minute. Who's this guy right here?
Oh, Lance Reddick.
Yeah, right. Lance Reddick. He plays
Sharon.
Right, Sharon, he's the person. He is the head manager of the hotel. Right. He's the one where nothing.
But we're not giving any spoilers.
You've seen part 2, so you should know this already. That there's a hotel, and that he is the manager of the hotel, and nothing happens without him knowing about it, right? So, what's Ian's name?
Who?
Ian.
Oh, his character is Winston.
Ian McShane plays Winston, right? Ian McShane basically plays
the same character.
Plays Wednesday from off of. He's basically
American
playing Wednesday from off American Guy. Right. He has the same hairstyle, which he never changes.
Demeanor, voice.
Same hairstyle, demeanor, voice. What's happening in the film is like what Wednesday does.
Right.
I have to now, when I first saw American Guy's first scene, I said, oh, this guy can really act. Now I have to start seeing him like in a romantic comedy, a rom-com, or something where he plays a good guy or something, because he just plays the same role, which he must have been filming American Guys at the same time.
Oh, that's true. He couldn't
shake it because he was just sitting there doing the same thing that Wednesday does, right? And so,
and this is total opposite of the character Halle Berry normally plays.
Halle
Berry did great.
Halle Berry was kicking butt in it, and for a woman of a certain age, she has not cracked. She had a little middle ways there in her late 40s where she was kind of she was kind of cracking, but she's brought it back now. She got rid of the European monkey on her back.
Did she remind you of Zoe Saldana in the film? If you've seen the movie Colombiana, when Zoe Saldana stars, and she's really kicking butt in that film. This is what Halle Berry does in this film. She's really kicking butt.
Okay,
in this film.
there are some things that are happening in this film that are just totally. You just can't believe it when you
see. He says that,
are people,
but people really love
there
the
are
film.
people. There are people with helmets on. People, helmets.
It's not real
they're
life.
shooting these high-powered weapons.
It's real. It's not
and
real
all
life.
of these ricochets and all this shrapnel and all of it. Just think, John Wick and his compadres, the ones that aren't set up, not the extras, but the main people. They don't have helmet on the first. All of this stuff is just blowing around. There's no cuts, no nothing.
They're not supposed
You're supposed to just believe that he's standing there.
Well, John Wick was bleeding from the beginning now.
Here's a wall being full of holes, and the bad people, they get full of holes, they get hit. Here he is, he's standing behind the wall.
He's a superhero.
And he go, pop, 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 pop. It's just splattering up. He's just standing there. He just stands there. The bullets don't pass. Somehow the bullet is making bullet holes, which would mean they would pass through. Somehow they don't touch him. Then he goes pop, pop, and then you go pop, pop, and then he drops down.
He does get hit.
He drops.
He does a lot of bleeding.
Right. He does a lot of bleeding that you would think
in the film
that would end the person, but not
but we don't,
John
that would
Wick.
End the film.
Not John Wick. I mean John Wick. John Wick. What you looking for?
My napkin.
Okay. Here you go. John Wick is, there's certain things. The Bronze Bomber, right? The Bronze Bomber.
That's real life. You can't
The Bronze Bomber says that, there is not boxing. You can't.
To a movie.
Listen, Bronze Bomber says there's certain things, certain places on the body wasn't meant to be hit.
The head.
And the head is one of them.
Right.
Right?
He said
That should not be hit.
That's what he said.
That's it.
But this is
John
a film.
Wick is getting bam. It'd be different if he was getting banned so you could believe it.
Film.
But he was bam, 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 bam. This dude not concussed.
Yeah, well, he was.
He was not concussed.
In certain
He was
parts of the
concussed
movie.
at the end. Because
the problem is because you work in film,
listen.
it's hard for you to
He's
enjoy
like, bing,
a good
bong, bing, bong, boom. Come on. Now look.
It was a good film.
Listen.
Are you going to see 4?
John Wick.
Are you going to see 4?
Let me finish this. John Wick is over the top. It is gratuitous.
And that's how it should
I remember back in the 90s, before it got conservative and it started to get conservative again, they would talk about too much violence in films. Right? This is a throwback to that period before they started saying too much violence in film, except for they went over and beyond with the after effects. I mean, the karate did.
The opening scene is crazy.
How much
you
ammo,
enjoyed the opening scene.
How much ammo is it? And it got to the point when one thing when I said, "Oh my God, here we go!"
Excellent.
I said, "Here we go. This is over the top right here."
But it's good
because everybody in the audience was like, "Ooh!"
Enjoyed it. People loved it.
But after a while, though,
excellent.
After a while,
was it too much for you?
After a while, you sat there and it was like, okay, seeing that, it was like repetition there.
Well, did you know that's what you're going to get when you see a John Wick film?
It was repetition kills.
What is he? What is he again?
It was repetition kills, and it got a little long in the tooth. And I was like, well, when we going to get to the third act? And what's unfortunate about these films is you don't get to the third act in these films because they are serials.
He's a hitman.
So we don't know how long.
The time, right? So because he is a hitman and he's working with nothing but hitmen, right? So you are going to see fighting, violence. Is a good film.
Shani said, well, damn, we invented everything. It's true. And then she says, reinvent everything. We invite everybody to the party, to the cookout, like Kim Kardashian, who will run back to her white roots once she's done. And then Shani started laughing. She said, I love lots of action in a movie.
Yeah,
that's
it was
right.
a lot of great karate.
It was a lot of
if
action.
you are a
in
martial
this film.
arts
But then,
person.
but it's like okay.
It was too much for me.
No, it's not too much. What I'm saying is, then there was the scenes where there was the honor code. Now there ain't no honor amongst killers and
it
thieves.
showed that. We saw that
And
in
then
the film.
here we are. You got the honor code. And they stop and say, "Hey, it's glad to meet you. Glad to meet you."
It was humor
in the middle of the
film.
fight scene.
It was humor.
And then let the guy have time. Then the other guy
This is
said,
like a real life
"The other guy, I
experience.
would have kept coming. You see how lucky you are, John Wick, but I'm going to kill you with my sword." And then the only thing that was missing was the off lips. I'm going to kill you with my sword. Right?
Everybody loves watching those films Saturday afternoon.
No, that's right. But you know, it was
Right.
like we were used to the condensed hour and 45 minutes of the Kung Fu film.
Channel 61.
Right. That's one. And 43 at one time.
Okay.
But when it gets to when I started actually selling the uncut versions of
Right.
karate flicks, which would be not an hour and 45 minutes, but 2 hours and 40 minutes, and you sitting there watching it, and the fight scenes are going forever. I said, "Oh my God, he didn't crash this dude down
It
the
was quite
water,
entertaining.
and he didn't jumped back up." I'm talking about the karate film.
But it wasn't your
And
traditional
then they
karate
jumped-
scene.
No, I'm saying it's
Oh,
it
you
was
talking
2
about
hours, 2 hours and 40 minutes.
oh.
This is what he emulated in this picture.
Right.
The fight scenes were so
long, but they were good.
long.
They were good.
And it's like, okay, like in the Kung Fu flick, okay, he threw him off the mountain. He hit in the
Oh, you're
water.
talking about the Kung Fu flick.
Yeah, I'm
right.
talking about the Kung Fu
not the
flick.
movie.
2 hours 45 minutes. He
Okay.
drops down. He hits into the creek
Right.
with all the rocks.
Then
He
they bounce
jumps-
back up.
and he bounced back up and said,
Yeah,
"Ah!"
and that's the
and
whole
he's still ready to
film.
go. And then all of a sudden they run. Then they run. And they stop and they go ha ha.
Right.
And then they fight. And you're
Right.
like, dude, you just got thrown off a mountain,
So,
50
right.
feet up, and then
So-
you fall and you jump back
That's
up.
part of the
and
culture.
This is what
Karate culture.
was in John Wick.
Which
John
is great.
Wick is over the top. If
Over
you
the
like
top good.
over the top action,
Or if you like karate films.
if you like a lot of ammo being just expended,
action.
it's breaking down the ozone layer.
You'll
You
love
are
it.
going to love this
Great film.
right?
The audience applauded, and everybody's
Yeah,
looking forward to part 4.
Part 4. So, as far as the CGI and the
Great.
After Effects,
You give it a what?
excellent.
Excellent.
That's a
Okay.
10.
That's a 10.
His the use of the choreography of creating the fight scenes
Beautiful.
in John Wick, that's a 10. The initial shock value of the ending of villains in the piece,
Right.
the initial shock is 10.
Right.
Then, as it goes on, the initial shock wears off, and it's just long in the tooth after that.
Right.
Those killings, I would have to give that a 5. The
Whatever,
cinematography, the use of lighting, I'm gonna give it a 10.
Okay.
Right? Dialogue and moving the story along, and introducing characters and reintroducing
Good job.
characters, that's a 10.
Right.
So what would you rate the film?
What? No, you didn't give your
No,
rating
what would you
overall.
rate- what would you
Oh,
rate
you
the
know I
film?
would give it a 10. It was great. Like the acting was great. Like I said, Halle Berry, she did a great job. Like when I saw her character, it wasn't Halle Berry anymore. She was like really, really kicking butt. Her whole demeanor, the body language, just great. Keanu Reeves, great. Of course, his acting is good. Like the entire cast. The fight scenes, the sequence was great. Especially like the opening scene. You cannot be late like seeing this film because it opens up like with action.
Yeah, it picks
And
right up.
It picks right up, and from there it takes you on a ride from beginning to end. Like great film. And just like you said, the fight scenes weren't dull at all. It wasn't just boring and traditional. Like the new moves, kind of like, you know how Jackie Chan does the great moves and the bending
Okay,
and
this
the
is another thing.
thumbs up. Great film.
I do not know how Keanu Reeves could move anywhere the way that he runs.
You know what?
the way he runs, he looks like he's got something stuck up his butt. I swear, the way he runs, it's like, what are you doing? I don't know how he gets away. I really don't know. All this running, it's not.
Okay,
you've
so
seen him in multiple
you know
films,
why
and you know how he runs.
he is injured,
and you're
right?
sitting there.
So how does an injured person
No,
run?
we're talking about running. Oh, I've seen him in other films where he's not injured and he's supposed to be running, and you sit up there and say, "Dude, you not getting away."
It was
from
realistic.
nothing. But somehow
they
they cut the scenes to make it look like he
didn't
up
get
the
away all
road
the
in a
time.
mile.
He didn't know.
He
But
ran
the
a
man
mile in
was
5
injured.
seconds. I mean, and he's running. And he's running. It's like,
So no, what you have
dude.
to explain to the people who may not be familiar with John Wick is this is ongoing, right? So this is great. So it's like from the number 1, chapter 1, the film kicks off, right? So because I don't want to get the film the story where you have to see it.
Uh-huh.
So the film kicks off in chapter 1. Then you move on into chapter 2, which was good. Chime-in was in that film, so check that out.
Chapter
and then,
2
but listen,
was
wait.
okay.
Then we go move into chapter 3. Now, mind you, in chapter 2 is where it kicks off. He's fighting. He's injured. So chapter 2 ends with this man injured. Wait, and then it goes into chapter 3. So this man is literally like. Is picking up from part 2 to 3, and he's injured and bleeding. So he's gonna be like limping because he can't.
No. He wasn't limping. What was the excuse?
Sore.
What was the excuse?
He was bloody.
What was the excuse in volume 1 when he was running when he wasn't injured? He was running. He was still running that same type of run. I'm telling you. And no, Shanine, I cannot leave Keanu Reeves alone. Shanine.
Thank you, Shani.
I cannot leave him alone.
Hater.
Listen, I cannot leave him alone.
It's a great film.
He's running. Okay. Yeah, if he was injured in part 3, what was the excuse in Constantine? Because he ran the same way in Constantine. Constantine, great movie. That's a 10.
He was
you have to
injured
see
in Constantine too.
He wasn't injured until the end. He was running, and he runs the same way in every film.
He had the demons after.
He has to change up. He has to change up the way he runs. But
anyway.
that makes it unbelievable. However, all that said,
great film.
The gratuitous violence, the over the top, him running and taking a whole 100-yard dash in 5 seconds, even though he's running like he has difficulty. I have to give the movie a 10. It was very entertaining. It was quite entertaining.
And I loved the action. It was just great.
It was long.
That's why I'm looking forward to Will Smith's film Gemini.
I'm looking forward to it.
With the Gemini Man.
I bet you Gemini Man.
It's gonna be good.
I bet you it won't. I bet you it'll be more realistic though. You're gonna be able to see.
So if you haven't seen it,
that.
like if you haven't been to the theaters and you haven't seen the trailer, go online and look at the trailer for what is it? The Gemini Man. I have to get the correct title, but Will Smith. I mean, the trailer is excellent. I mean, the movie is gonna be great. So I'm looking forward to that. Just like I was looking forward to John Wick.
Yeah,
and
the title, Love Gemini. Shani, that is a great title.
What?
A Gemini Man. That's what.
Shani is a Gemini.
Yeah, she likes the title.
So is that the title of the film?
That's the title for Gemini Man. Yeah.
Okay. It's gonna be a great film. Great film.
Right, because it's a doppelganger, so it's Gemini Man.
And he's like battling himself, Will Smith. So
he knew how to move out the way before I could get to him.
But I would give John Wick 3 a 10. So you definitely have to go and see it. You can't be late because the opening scene kicks off. And it's an excellent scene. Excellent scene.
I mean, well worth seeing.
Well worth seeing.
I would say so.
And then we saw a great documentary. Also HBO. What's it? HBO, right?
Yeah.
Executive producer LeBron James and
the other guy.
The director. That's really, really good.
Fuqua.
Yeah, Antoine Fuqua.
That's right.
An excellent documentary on Ali on HBO.
So listen, it's called What's My Name? Muhammad Ali. Now what I like about the documentary is finally Ali documentary a film in the hands of a black man. Right? Finally, it is in the hands of a black man who is telling the story completely. Not just the sensationalism, because I remember when Ali was out, like when Mayweather was out boxing, people didn't like Ali. You know, European Americans did not like Ali. They considered him a draft dodger. They wanted him to go to prison. I mean, all this is laid out. Like, you've seen it before, but you haven't seen it like this in this 2-part documentary.
Excellent. Because during the time we were watching the documentary, I said, Will Smith, we need a part 2 to his film, Ali. Because it was just, you learned so much more about Ali that you didn't know.
See, the director of Ali, of the movie with Will Smith, because he was not a black man, he can only tell the story from an outside looking in approach. Had Spike Lee done the film, he would have been able to tell it from an inside out. And this is what you see here in this piece, executive produced by
LeBron James and Antoine Fuqua.
Right.
Yeah.
You see it from the inside out. You see the man, you see how he drives. There are so much information given in this film.
A lot of unseen footage.
Unseen footage that you never knew about.
Stories.
You know, you never knew about. It's like there's certain things that they credit him with when there's a European American telling the story. They talk about how he was a loudmouth, how everybody wanted to see his block knocked off. But in this film, you see the credit.
It was done with a lot of love, don't you think?
It gives credit where credit is due. It shows how, this is what they don't tell you in documentary, how he kept fighting to be able to give money to various causes. And how as his health declined, he kept boxing. And they showed you what he did, that he was a person who didn't only talk it, but actually sacrificed to actually do it, right? And so this is what they show you, which other documentaries don't show you that. The stuff that they showed you in here, now I'm so glad that a black man got a chance to tell it. Because the European American does not tell the Ali story correctly.
Yeah, so I'm gonna need Will Smith to do the part 2 because there's so much more information that we didn't learn in the first film, and I need Antoine Fuqua to direct it.
Right.
Because Will Smith did an excellent job in the film Ali. That's why it would be great to see Will Smith in that same role again. And documentary is amazing.
Yeah,
they did a really, really great job.
What's My Name, Muhammad Ali, and how that came about was there was a fighter that he fought after he fought Patterson, who refused to call him by his non-slave name.
Yep, he kept
calling him Cassius, right?
Yeah, Cassius Clay.
And he said, so he got real angry. He said, this is real deal. I don't play with my name. Yeah. Like, what people have to realize is a person's name, it's like platinum and gold to them.
Right.
So it's not something that you're just going to get away with making ridicule of a person's name. That's why I told you people don't really understand the people, the politicians and things. They really don't understand Trump and what it's all about his name. They really don't understand what it really means and what it really is about his name and why he's fighting tooth and nail, because the name has to live on past him, and he's got a whole large family that's going to continue to believe like he believes, to spread, to keep his lineage and his legacy alive. And so this is what this is about. So he went in there and when I tell you he beat the guy to a pulp and beat him, and what you find out about Ali when you watch the tapes, like I was a kid, but I was a child, but my father and I watched boxing, and Ali was it at that time, right? And what you understand watching this documentary is Ali, like most pugilists, like Jack Johnson, I'll say like Jack Johnson, he comes through the lineage of Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson knew how to punch people in a certain way to get a certain reaction. Floyd Mayweather knows how to punch people a certain way to get a certain reaction, to then lead into the other combination of punches that he's going to throw. That's the genius of it. A lot of the other boxers, they just in there swinging away. I swear the most potent fighters that are going to come up now are the Latin fighters that are under the Mayweather Promotions brand, because they're going to learn how to hit and not be hit. Same thing with Ali. Ali later in life, to continue boxing, he did the rope-a-dope style. He committed to the rope-a-dope style, and that caused him to take more punishment than he needed to take, because he could have avoided those shots. But in his early years, he knew how to, I call it like a dagger punch. He knew how to send the punches a certain way to leave the person. What's going on, William? Black now, Turnbull. What's going on with you? You can see him in the new bars.
Yes.
Right. He delivers in bars.
Yep.
And we're going to be talking about that shortly. That's a new series of shows that we have coming up, featuring MCs doing what they do best. Right. They're bars. Yeah. So we're going to talk about that.
Like now, he delivered bars.
That's right, sure did.
As well, he is also 16. A great actor.
Yeah, that's right. He was in. We're going to talk about all that.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. Listen. So Ali knows how to throw punches, and he knew how to throw angle punches a certain way where he could keep you up, or he could knock you out, or he could just brutalize you for the 15 rounds.
Oh yeah, that one. Oh god,
and he just
that one
fight.
fight.
And when the guy, he said, "What's my name?" Guy never said it. He said the guy has no class, because if you don't honor what the person says, and all those people, he said they didn't have any class, because you would just honor what the man says about his name. That
one fighter that he fought, who was being rude and disrespectful towards Ali in the ring, when he fought him, it was just like torturous. Just like at the end of the fight, you see the guy's face, and it looked like from this point on like a mask. Like he looked really, he like deformed the top of this man's.
I don't think dude was
face.
Able to box anymore, you ask me.
See, and I hadn't seen that before, so this documentary shows you like footage that's never like been released.
So you have to see this documentary on HBO. Yeah. It is well worth seeing. Yeah. You will be informed on more information about Ali than what is regularly told to you. They base one thing, but this is from the inside out, not the outside looking in. And so, like I've told you many times, they can't tell our stories because they don't have the empathy.
Right.
But we can tell their stories because we're immersed in this and we're subject to it.
And Tom Foucault did an excellent job.
And so we know. So, see this film.
Yeah.
What's My Name?
Yep.
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
And one last thing before we rate it. It's like LeBron James is so tuned in.
Yeah, he is.
He realizes as an athlete that he is coming close now to not his twilight of his years on earth, but his twilight in the end of sports. And to be able to walk in another man's shoes, is what all of this is about. Even the whole thing with Lee Daniels and Steve Harvey and the Monique situation, and Monique being able to walk in these people's shoes just to have a overstanding of what's going on is what this is all, or what this life is all about. And him being able to walk in Ali's shoes, he can see what Ali became worried, or I can't get this little extra weight off my stomach where I could always do. I'm concerned about that, right? And he's saying, this little weight I can't get off. You know, so it's things
little stuff like that
just by being able to read our story. Right. You can see things that happen, so you will know what happens, what to avoid, or to say, well, at least going with my eyes wide open and not my eyes wide shut. Right. You know what I mean? So he's so tuned into the reality of what it is, not only as a black man in America, but also as a black athlete in America. Yeah. Right? So what would you rate?
A 10. I would definitely give it a 10 because it was informative and you just learned so much more about Ali that you didn't know. And like during the documentary, you're just like, okay, we need more of that Ali film. So it's like Will Smith needs to do a part 2.
Sonny said, did they talk about his paintings? I think they did, didn't they?
His paintings?
Didn't they mention his paintings, Ali's paintings? Yeah, I think they did.
So. They did.
Just in a
and
quick,
his music.
And his music. Yeah, because, you know, he sang. Him and Sam Cooke were close friends. Yeah. And we learned that in the Sam Cooke documentary. Yeah. We wouldn't have known that if we hadn't seen the Sam Cooke documentary, right? Yeah. And so Shani said, Trump equals Satan. His kids are moronic demons. And then she says, proud of LeBron.
Yeah. Always proud of LeBron.
You know, remember that movie, The Omen? Mm-hmm. Remember he was rolling around in his little tricycle, and he knocked his mama off.
Well, he tried.
He knocked her off. She was dead in the. She died crippled. Oh. Does anybody remember The Omen? When he was riding his tricycle and she was looking and he was like, and they had that eerie music playing and he was little boy, so and then he knocked the thing off. And then later they made one where The Omen, where the guy with the trick 666 was became president of the United States. Remember that one?
Oh yeah, I remember that one. As an adult, yeah.
Yeah, remember that one?
They showed him as an adult.
They showed him as an
Damien
adult.
as an adult.
Right. So, you know, so that's what Shanine was saying.
Is that what
Trump
she was
equals Satan.
She's talking about Trump.
Yeah, right. So
speaking of that, of the almond and the little boy on the bike and stuff, they show previews of Chucky, so that'll be coming out.
Yeah, Chucky will be coming out. Mark Hamill plays is the voice of Chucky this time. So that should be real interesting. This time, the little Chucky doll can now interface in with your Google or and Siri, and it can control your lights, it can control your thing. So it was like a interactive thing. It was supposed to be a computer, interactive killer computer that can turn the lights off and control things. Boy, I'm telling you, the more they tell you about this IT that's going on now.
I believe Tyree Henry will be in it from Atlanta.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be in it.
What's his name? Is it Paper Boy?
Now, if Tyree Henry dies in this, then we know that we are truly in the middle of the purge.
Yep, Brian Tyree Henry.
Because people always, there's a running joke going around that the first people who die in horror films are black people. That's not true. That's not true. I remember when the first time that there was a real presence of a black person in a horror movie was in Jason, and I think it was either 4 or 5, and it was Dudley. Oh. He was the lone black guy in the picture, and he got away. He ran, and Jason was like, looking at him. But then when they when they remade the film again, the black guy came around and he was running. Jason knew how to get him because he had saw Dudley, but Dudley ran off the screen and you never saw him again. He didn't die, right? He just kept running. He ran back to different strokes, right? He said, "I'm going back."
He ran back to different.
I'm going back to the drumming. I'm going back to the drumming household. To tell a different kind of story. Everybody needs the time to shine. It don't matter what you got, not a lot. So I'm going back there and skip this movie because I'm not dying in this picture. And Dudley ran off the screen back to there, and then you never saw Dudley in another film again. What happened to Dudley? I thought that was going to jumpstart his stuff, and he ran off, and he never came back. He's probably still running. You know what I mean? But anyway, look. So that is not true about the first people to get killed in horror films of black people, because most of the time black people aren't in horror films. So if the guy, if he dies in this, then you know that the Purge is truly on, and this is about to change, and we're about to see very little representation of us except for the side extra.
But definitely see the Ali documentary, and then also we talked about last week Wu-Tang Clan's documentary.
Yeah, you got
excellent, done by Sasha Jenkins, another black director. He did an excellent job.
There is so much going on in IT. Chucky needs to end. Yeah, I mean, but you know he's gonna go on because he can wipe people out with the thing. Okay, so now, what would you rate?
Oh,
what's my name?
A 10. Because I learned so much more that I didn't know about Ali, having watched previous documentaries, as well as the film, like I said, starring Will Smith. But you just learn so much more that you didn't know about Ali.
The use of the footage and bringing it up to spec to make it look good across the screen. 10, the Golden Gloves footage that you never see. 10, the cabin footage that you never see. 10.
And a farm. Who knew he had a farm?
Who knew it?
You know, and
growing things. Teaching the lessons of the Nation of Islam, he put into practice.
Yeah, he did.
You know, his sacrifice to keep fighting for causes.
Yeah, helped so many organizations.
So many. Being able to come back and defend his title and take it back. 10. Right? Just the whole, everything, the sound mixing, the editing, the way they told the story with when there was no dialogue. You know what I'm saying? Through the storytelling of the script and the AB script. Beautifully done. Beautifully done.
The music, the soundtrack is nice too.
ABBA script. Yeah. That is a 10, a 10, a 10, a 10, a 10.
And just like seeing, you have to see it, so not giving away a lot of information, but just learn. You learn so much about him when he was a child, and like the conversations he would have with his mother. Like the consciousness was there as a child. Stuff that like most kids, some kids probably do, but like the type of questions that you wouldn't expect a little kid to ask, he asked, and he wasn't, being a child, he wasn't bombarded. Well, he was bombarded, but he didn't let the images that was forced onto him through television control who he was as a child. So it was just deep. I mean, great documentary.
So that's a 10 across the board.
Yeah.
Now, people, this is for the ladies. This is a question for the ladies. And I was driving in the car and I was listening to Michael Baston. Okay. And he had a topic on. And I came in late. I turned the radio on, but I came in late. But a woman had called up and she was talking about that she had went on a date. And she was it was a blind date, so she was meeting this guy at the restaurant. And it was a nice upscale restaurant, so she was dressed. And he comes in with a wife beater, shorts, and flip-flops, and he sits down and he asks for a hamburger. They didn't have hamburger, so he got upset over that. So she got him some, got him eggplant, right? So he was eating eggplant, but he was slurping as he was eating, because eggplant can sometimes be, kind of losing. So he was slurping, and so they said after so I want to make sure I get the quote right, so you know it. So this is for the ladies. We need to know what you would think. So let me get the quote right. So after dinner, he says, they walk outside, and because they had took separate ways to get there. So I guess she must have took an Uber, but he was driving, and he offered to take her home, and then she said no, because she didn't want him to know where it is, because he came in with a wife beat, right?
First time meeting them.
So so it's a black woman talking about. I automatically thought this must have been a white dude coming in with a white beat. I thought they didn't really say what race he was, but the first thing that came to mind to me was a European American was doing this. So this is what he says. He says, after he asked could he take her home, then he said, can you come home with me? And then he says this: since it seems like we really hit it off and we had a really good time at dinner, is it possible you will let me slap my meat across your teeth? Again, he says, since we seem to have hit it off and we had a great time at dinner, is it possible you will let me slap my meat across your teeth? All right. So this is what this man asked her, and so they talked about it, and they went on to some other calls. But my thing is it has common sense left? Is it too much porn? First of all, for the ladies, what would you have done if a person had said that? Since we hit it off so well, at dinner, is it possible that I can slap my meat across your teeth? What would you say to that? Like,
Hey,
what's going on, Ken Evans? What would you say to that? Now, this was a topic that was on base, and it just flipped my script, and I say it just flipped, and I was like, wow. And I said, is it too much porn going around? Is it too much? First of all, what would you do? And the second question is it too much porn going on? It's like when I was a child, there used to be a store on Miles in Warrensville Center. And you would walk in there and they would have the magazines out there on the case, but they would have them covered up, and they would be like nudie magazines, right? So you would try to sneak and look, but back then it was all nothing but white chicks, and when you were a kid, you didn't know nothing about that because people weren't necessarily teaching you about that, because we were in the, we have overcome because civil rights happened, and when I was 12, we had overcome, but Reagan hadn't, it was just coming in and getting ready to show us what it was going to be about. So that was there.
Right.
The whole thing was just coming on VCR and VHS. VCRs and VHS tapes. That was just now coming in. That didn't really get into around 87, and that kind of hit real big, right? So that wasn't there, right? Then it turned into DVD, and now the DVD is gone, and now everything is just digital over the net.
Right.
And it's one thing to have nudie magazines, right? And then like people who are older show you a nudie magazine or something, right? But there's another thing for older people to sit down with children and actually sit there and watch porn with them, right? Take it from a person who had a store, who rented and later sold porn on DVD. Once it got on DVD, just sell it because it got real cheap, right? But take it from a person who had a room. Now, when I opened my store, there was an adult room already in there. It was just pieces left behind, right? And you know, I had got the number, got my new number, but you know how you go in and say, cut the old number off?
Right.
The people, I guess the line said the new number is.
Right.
And so they called me and I said, oh yeah? They said, yeah, we do this. And I said, okay, well, we can send you a magazine out because I didn't watch, you know what I'm saying? So I got, what's going on, Kevin?
Okay.
So I didn't watch, you know what I mean? So I looked through the magazine, I would go get the rating. And then so I had to learn what different definitions meant. Now I'm a 26-year-old. I'm not really into porn, right? So I'm a 26-year-old. And so basically all I ever saw was like nudie magazines, younger, right? But that was nothing. That's nothing compared to what was out. So I had to learn definitions like DP, what that meant, double penetration and stuff. So I had to learn what that meant.
Right.
And so I was like, well, I don't want anything that has to do with penetrating the woman in her butt. I don't want anything like that. I want like heterosexual, you know what I'm saying, you know, people doing things, you know, fellatio. Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? You can't get away from that. That's what it is. So I said, I don't want anything. So my room was basically straight heterosexual sex. Boom. Right? So then years later, I got out of it, knocked the wall down, and started doing live performances in the store. I changed up, right? Because it was really there, and it was grandfathered in. I got tired of it because, you know, people would come in with things like, one dude was standing at the door when I had closed. I told him to close. He said, do you have any men getting at men? And I said, no, you know, I don't do anything but straight heterosexual, so I don't do that. Boom. So this dude, right? So years later, this dude comes into the store and he brings his 2 sons with him. One of his sons looks as if he's homosexual, right? The other son looks like he's straight. Now they're twins, right? Now this is the same guy that was asking me, did I have any porn where men were going at men? And the reason why I figured out what was going on, see, I had a large clientele because I had one of the largest adult rooms in the city. I had over 1,000 titles, but they were all heterosexual sex. It was no. So after we got the business, remember we went over to our competitor. See, I don't consider black people who had video stores my competitor, because I was a record store that happened to have a porno room because the phone call came in. I said, well, why not? Just a diversification of whatever, right? So we go over there to the place, right? And
Right on video.
Right on video store, because I didn't consider black people my competitors. Still don't.
And because the White on Video store was sending people to our store
just to check it out, right? Because we had the largest room, right? So we walk in there because I had dismantled my room. So that's the way I do it. If I don't do it anymore, then I can just go see what the competitor that wanted to be my competitor was doing. I could go see that now because I'm no longer in it. So we went in the room and I'm looking and I'm seeing titles about crackhead whores, and I'm saying, that's that porn star called Little Bit. When did she become when was she a crackhead? Right, I'm looking, and then I'm saying, look at this, and then they had homosexual titles in there. And
then they had animals and stuff.
Yeah, they had, I don't know if it was, yeah, they did, didn't they? Yeah. You know, kind of like the Caligula film, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what? And so that then informed me about when the guy stood at the door and said, do you have any men going at men? And I was like, no, you know, I'm just straight heterosexual sex. And then when he brought his 2 boys in there, and one of them was fully fully blown, like flaming, and the other one, they were both exactly alike, except for one was hetero, and the other one was homo. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, And this dude, a few years before, about 5 years before, was like, do you have any men going at men? And then that made me think, what was going on?
People what they wanted more and more and more. Kind of like with Michael Bay's show, the topic that he covered.
Right.
It's interesting because on an episode of Insecure, as well as a couple of other shows, this was like a topic as far as how people not being able to tell the difference between porn world and the real world and how it was affecting relationships. And it was interesting. We covered the Deuce. We reviewed that TV show on HBO.
Mm-hmm.
So that show, there's a storyline, and one of the main characters, she's a director of like a porn, right? So you see the behind the scenes making of like porn, you know, and just interesting. And then for Michael Basin to bring it up, and then to see it on other shows, it'd be a topic on how, because a lot of these young guys and girls are growing up and they're not able to decipher like reality versus this imaginary porn world that's being put together, like you see on the Deuces, the behind the scenes. You know, they think it's real and how it's affecting relationships. So I know on Michael Basin, when the guy said that to her, I know she had to be like floored.
Shanine said, I would have walked back in the restaurant and told him off. It's not porn. Social media has killed social skills. Kevin says, how are you guys? Been a minute. We're doing good, man. And no complaints here. Listen. Like I said, when we came up, when Generation X came up, the parents would tell us, go upstairs.
Right.
We're getting ready. They wouldn't tell you why. Just go upstairs, go to bed, because they were getting ready to listen to the Richard Pryor tape, or the Dolomite, or whomever else. Right? They would tell you, go away, right?
But this generation, do you think it's like the parents are not?
But with our generation, Generation X, which comes in a little bit after the people. We're the ones who actually made things happen after the civil rights generation. I say the civil rights generation goes all the way up to where Generation X begins. People born in 89, 90. You know what I'm saying? That go on.
So you're saying Generation X, they knew the difference between a film versus reality.
No. Well, this is true, and this is why.
They can't decipher.
This is why we knew. Because we were kept away from it until we, like I said, I'm 26. Before I really know what's going on. And I'm reading the books, being educated and reading stars, like how many stars it's had, asking questions like, what does this mean and what does that mean? I'm, naive to it, right? Until, you know what I'm saying? But I learned as I went along. So this is what I'm saying. We were kept away from it, but our generation said we were going to put it out there in the forefront. And so our generation includes people like Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, Eazy-E, Ren, the Ghetto Boys, some people like that who told these stories on wax. Too short. They told these stories on wax and on vinyl cassette and now they're on CD. They pushed the envelope and said we were going to let it, Luke Campbell, we were going to let it all hang out. And I believe that was a mistake, because not willing, not saying, here, sit down and listen to this, but we were not willing to separate and say, okay, I'm not going to listen to this while my kids are in the car.
They let the kids hear it.
They let the kids hear it. And so, and then, things going on, they still hide things, but the kids find them, and with it being not in magazine form anymore, but the full-blown VHS or the full-blown DVD, They can see it. They pop it in. They see it, even if it's hid. They see it, and then there's a whole generation now that can see it because it has been proliferated over the internet, where you type in, you just want to see bathing beauties. Next thing you know, you're in the full thing. It's like the Dave Chappelle skit, where he was on the internet, and they come here. Would you like to see two women kissing? Oh, okay, let's go. And they go in there and they come back out. Would you like to see? And then by the time he came out there, he was like, no more. So it's so...
Now kids see all this on Instagram, right?
That's right. And it's on Instagram. It's on Twitter. It's on... I mean, you can... It's just accessible. And people do not understand that what's in the film, just like they didn't understand in regular films, like Kung Fu flick. They don't understand. That was a movie with Bruce Lee. That's a movie with Empire. Those aren't real characters. Even the reality shows aren't real characters. Those are characters drawn, you know, from the people's lives, but they make them who they are. Right? They don't realize that there's boundaries. You do not do what you see in a film, in a what would be called a stag film, or a porno film. You don't do what you see in films, because that is not. It's not real. It's supposed to be hyper sexualized to get the sale, but that doesn't mean that in real life. So when the man stands there and says, "Look, we kicked it off real good," he had no concept, because his mind was so gone.
He thought that was normal.
That it was normal.
Like he didn't find a problem saying
it. We kicked it pretty good. We kicked it off pretty good. It's okay if I slap my meat across your teeth.
He thought that was okay.
He thought that was okay. Shani said, so sad, 2 Live crew. And then they weren't offered an explanation on being told this isn't what life is about. I have to agree with you.
Kind of like today, right? With social media and these girls who, Kanye West was on the Breakfast Club. Well, this is a few years ago. So since he wanted to give Kim credit, let's give her credit. When he talked about how when his daughter would grow up and he would say, his daughter could feel proud of her body because she can look at her mom's body, right? So since Kanye wanted to throw the credit Kim's way as far as a woman having the shape, the build of the behind and hips, and we know who the original woman is, where all of this came from, but since he wanted to throw that credit to Kim, let's give it to her. So since they're all over social media, right, with the silicone butts and stuff, right? So do we give credit to Kim as far as these girls who are sticking semen in their butts and stuff? So this is where it gets crazy. People can't tell the difference between real and not real. You know, they see, she's doing this and this is what the girls are doing on Instagram, and I want to look like this, so I'm gonna go to such and such up the street and have them stick semen in my butt, because they can't tell the difference between real and fake. And then it gets to the point where, like what K. Michelle went through, what she went through, and she talks about her journey on the documentary that they had on BET, when she talked about how the silicone that was put in her butt, how it got into her bloodstream, right? And her journey of trying to have all of this removed from her body, and when she would get up out of bed and couldn't walk, and while she was performing, she was in so much pain. So it's just like sad not being able to tell the difference between the real world, porn, as well as like this look on Instagram, with the removing the rib thing to have this like imaginary image body, and that's being pushed on people.
But so it's at this point, to me, just my opinion looking at it, it's too much. It's too much porn.
Right.
It's too much. It's like everywhere you go, so people can't have a relationships, you got to almost, as a woman, it would appear to me today, you got to search the guy. You got to really figure the guy out. You got to talk to him, say, how much porn have you had in your life? What do you believe that we're going to be doing? You know what I mean? Because you can get caught up in, like what my mother used to say, a trick bag, and they run a train. I mean, you know, it's just all kinds of craziness like that you see, and you know, that's not realistic.
Because I think there is a difference, right? Like growing up, we talked about like our generation, the previous generations, like watching porn and understanding that it's just porn, no big deal, versus the generation where these kids are little and they have access to this, and it's like screwing up their heads because they start watching it so long. I mean, so many years ago when they were children,
right,
and they weren't protected like we were when our parents, who wouldn't let us hear like the Richard Pryor tapes or, you know, or Eddie Murphy.
Because it was a grown people,
right?
Entertainment.
Whereas
now it's
these little kids are like watching porn, and as little children, you know, and it's the norm because they have access to Pornhub and all of that kind of stuff. You know, if the mother isn't or father isn't blocking it on the computer for them, they have access to all this stuff, which, you know, so it's just...
Which it screws their mind. So,
yeah.
I mean, it has to be some point where the children have to be protected, because we have to get back to normalcy. Because
the children, they don't see it as entertainment, right?
Like
a certain generation, like, will see porn as, oh, okay, that's adult entertainment, right? But there are like youth who grew up on it, and they don't see it as like an entertainment. They think it's real. Right? Just like the kids, the young ladies growing up, and the young men too, who, you know, growing up thinking that that's Kim Kardashian's actual body, in which like it's not. So they go to the lengths of getting the silicone and all this kind of stuff to emulate this woman whose body is not her actual body. So it's all sad.
So I have to say thumbs down and 0 to the purveyors of placing porn all over the internet,
right,
openly and freely, where people young people can just get to it and not have enough time to be children, and to grow up and to like, you're gonna see some things, because if you're a male or if you're a female, you're curious, and you will see some things along the way, but not full blown out, full action, this sensationalized and sexualized to take it to a whole nother level. It's like it has to be some brakes put on, because the society will be stark raving lunatics and insane, and then you will see why the machines will take over when they will go online and become no longer artificially intelligent but intelligent, and say, hey, what we need these crazy people for, all they do is Sodom and Gomorrah. So it has to pull back, and so that's what we'll say on that. So,
I wonder how old did they say on the Michael Basin show, like the age group? I'm assuming she sounded like
she sounded like she was in her 30s, because you know he has a certain age group that listens.
Because I wonder how old was this guy?
Because remember, the 30-year-olds today,
he should have known better.
The early 30,
that's not Generation X, right?
No, that's not Generation X. That's Generation. They call themselves millennials, but they're not. Millennials are younger. They're X. I mean, they're Y or Z.
Okay, so that's why
we talked about that.
Just like crazy,
right? But
for him to say that,
the 30-year-olds today, not all, because there's no absolute, because they were stark reigning lunatics in Generation X.
Right.
But the 30-year-olds that I've observed act as if they're still children in their 20s, and so they're doing things and thinking in certain ways that
immature,
that put you in harm's way, like what they said happened at Coachella.
Okay.
With the
widespread of herpes.
With herpes. Okay. Like, everyone knows
about unprotected sex.
Everyone knows. Put a condom
all these
on
strangers.
It. But you know, there are venereal diseases that can cut through that condom, though.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, these are people in their 20s and their 30s out there partying, having open sex Like this
Can you imagine
this is a movie.
Can you imagine
This isn't a movie.
If that had happened at like Freaknik or something like that,
Oh my
it
God.
would be all over. So
Oh.
but because Coachella is predominantly Caucasian, even though
Party.
there are other, but it's predominantly Caucasian, they kind of said, oh, it was widespread of herpes, but then they kind of like glazed over and went to another story. But could you imagine if something like that had happened?
What about
or at the Essence Fest, it would be all over the
What
news.
about EDC? What they gonna say about what happened to EDC this
With the
weekend?
Electric Daisy.
Yeah. And where they played a rave. Well, it's not rave anymore. Let me not do it. It's some kind of club house. I don't know exactly what it is. It's something that they stole from us too. 'Cause we created house music.
Right.
But anyway, that's another story. So, irresponsibility, and we have to be just a little more responsible,
Right.
going in and heading into these next ones, because these people the European Americans are out of control. I was just at this place. Oh, anyway, it's just out of control. We won't talk about that. It's just what I saw, and I was like, oh my, out of control. Okay, people, we had this new show on called The Film Review.
Right.
Bars.
I love it.
Okay.
Great show.
It's each show is 10 minutes of MCs kicking bars.
Yeah.
And when I tell you that they kick bars,
Hip hop.
we kick bars. So let's run through. We have the Film Review, music review show. Right. We have this show,
Yes.
the Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, and Society podcast.
Right.
We have now the Film Review Bars.
And these
show.
MCs are kicking bars.
They are kicking bars. And you can see it globally
Right.
by going to your smart TV
Right.
or your Roku device
Right.
and typing in Vimeo.
Right.
Download the app to Vimeo, then type in Lordland Films, right? When you type in Lordland Films, all the different pieces come up, and you'll be able to watch bars. You'll be able to watch the Film Review Music Review Show. You'll be able to watch us, the Film Review Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, Society podcast, right? It is incredible as we expand out, right? And then episode 2 of the Film Review Music Review Show is coming. And let me tell you, we got some hitters. I just dropped a snippet out featuring Eddie Hands from Cleveland. He opens up the show.
Yeah.
I opened the show with Eddie Hands. But we have people from Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Cleveland, New York, people from overseas. I'm telling you, if you haven't seen Volume 1, Episode 1 of the Film Review Music Review Show, you need to go there right now to Vimeo and see it. Download the app. Download the app on your smart TV or your Roku device, and you'll be able to see it where you're at, globally, where you're at in your city, over in Africa, over in Europe, over in Asia. You'll be able to see it. In the States, Canada, you name it. You'll be able to see it. And we have some more announcements coming up on how you're going to be able to see us global very, very shortly. But bars, make sure you check that out.
Great show.
The Film Review Bars.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it. The MCs are kicking it, and
So
we're
much
exposing the
talent.
independent, because we are about the independent, the independence, people. That's what we're about. And so we bring it to you so you can be seen, heard, recognized, and appreciated, and so that you can be turned on to people who are being seen, heard, recognized, and appreciated, turned on to their music, to their ability. And here's something that I have to say real quick. A lot of people say hip hop is this, hip hop is that. No, hip hop isn't this, and hip hop isn't that. When you hear the real, when you hear what's actually happening through the independents, you find out that what the record labels are pushing is what the record labels is pushing. There's nothing wrong with that, because when you're in the club, you know, for the young people that's in the club, they want to hear some ratchetness or whatever, because they dancing in the club. That's what it is. It's dance music in the club. It's for that free life with no condoms and herpes and HIV and syphilis and gonorrhea and clap. And I think gonorrhea and clap is the same thing. I wouldn't know. And then they got that other disease. What's that other disease that comes on you? That's herpes, right? Where outbreaks on your body all over. But then they got this other new one. They got this other new one that's kind of like the measles that breaks out that you can't get rid of. It's kind of like herpes. You got that new shit, and these people out there risking it all for that. But anyway, it goes through not through the genitals, but on the skin. Right? And
they're like they're creating this stuff. These different diseses, and releasing them into the population.
And into the people allegedly. But when people say, don't sit on the toilet seats, and then people used to laugh back in the day, don't sit on the toilet seats, people. I'm telling you, there's something coming, right? But anyway, bars. Make sure you check that out. We are doing our thing. Oh, and how could I forget the film review on the road show, where we interview people who make the culture move. Like we got Von Mason on the latest one, and again you can see that on Vimeo. You download the app on your smart TV and your Roku device, and you download the Vimeo app, and then you search Lordland Films, all one word, Lordland Films, and it all comes up, and you're able to watch in your city, your hamlet, your town, right? And but we have Von Mason on the latest one. Before that, we had Curtis Blow. Before that, we had Cameron. We all interviews of people who are making it happen, and we do a whole tour of Hardin on episode 2, which is the cannabis dispensary that carries G5, the black-owned curator, the black-owned curated and cultivated, is the word, cultivated cannabis, and so it breaks down all the information to you. And gives you the difference between the two different types of cannabis. One that gets you high, one that is for more topical things. And then we also talk in episode 1 to Larry Smith, who is the owner of G5. So you have to see that.
Speaking of bars, Curtis Blow's son.
Oh, that's right. Curtis Blow's son is on there. Yes, he has bars. He is featured on there on Bars, the film review. So we are constantly expanding and bringing new shows, and we're going to be coming with, again, more information about how you can see us globally. What did Shani say here? She said, praying for Kanye's kids. That was sad. They need to replay the documentary. Cool. We need real artists back. Allegedly genocide. That dispensary was dope. Excuse the pun. Shani watched it, and she was actually on there that day when we talked about the CBDs, something like that. But anyway, listen, people.
Are you on the bronze? No, the bronze bomber.
Oh, look, Shani, when you watch the episodes, you will see that the artists are there. The labels are the ones who are pushing it, who are pushing a certain type of hip hop, which is a party hip hop. Hip hop is 8 to 80, and they're pushing a younger version of hip hop to the people, but there's always something to find, even the young people. We got some stuff. That's what I love about Cleveland. Cleveland kicks that pro-black thought in their music. And so we show you that in what we're doing, right? So, Bars. That's a 10. Yep. I'm saying it.
Yeah, I say it's a 10 too. That's excellent.
Right. May 30th is the film review, music review show. And I'm telling you, we got a lineup on there. Right?
They have bars.
They have bars.
They do.
Right. Okay, so that's it. Now, closing out tonight is the Bronze Bomber.
And that fight last night,
Deontay Wilder. The question that we have, the question that's written up is Deontay Wilder the actual only real heavyweight champion of the world?
right?
Because the other heavyweight champion that has a majority of the belts is afraid, in my opinion, to fight Deontay Wilder. He's afraid to fight Deontay Wilder.
Is that the guy overseas?
Joshua.
Okay.
I'll say his name.
Okay.
He is afraid. So I wrote Deontay Wilder after the fight on Twitter. I told him, I said, you are the only real heavyweight champion in the world, because Deontay Wilder takes on all comers.
Yeah.
He takes on mandatories.
Right.
He takes on people who they were afraid of. Ortiz.
Right.
They were afraid of Ortiz.
Right.
Ortiz rocks him.
Right.
He knocks Ortiz out.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
This guy,
He fought
Brazil.
Brazil, yeah. Oh my God.
It didn't get past the first round,
didn't.
people. He set him up with the jab, with the lead jab, and just came across with the right hammer.
Right.
And when I tell you, the one of the people who interviewed him afterwards in the post press conference called it the hammer of Thor.
Right.
The hammer of Thor. Because he connected with him and the dude sprawled out. It was over. It was
like
pretty.
that.
It was one of the most prettiest knockouts that you have seen in years. And it wasn't wild. It wasn't swinging. It was all set up. And you know what's good about Deontay Wilder, which I did not see when he fought Tyson Fury. He was going for the knockout, but he didn't have certain things in the arsenal, like, because to me, or he just wasn't using them because he was nervous. He wanted to get the knockout. He had nerves. But he introduced the uppercut, and he introduced a check left hook. And I said, oh man, this guy is bringing some different different looks and different combinations to the game. And I said all he needed was an uppercut against Fury, because Fury's head kept being down. And that uppercut, he would have split his lip, he would have lost some teeth, he would have broke his nose. He would have had him had he thrown the uppercut. Because I kept saying, throw the uppercut. First I said, throw the jab. Throw the jab. He had a jab. He had a jab in this fight. You know what I'm saying? So he went back to the fundamentals and got it. Got a jab, got an uppercut, left, right, a left check hook, and he caught the dude with the hammer of Thor and put him down.
He did.
I mean, it was one of the prettiest knockouts. So to me, Deontay Wilder, the Bronze Bomber. Make sure you follow him on Twitter, Bronze Bomber. He is the only heavyweight champion of the world in this era today, because the other one, in my opinion, is afraid to come out and fight and make the best fights. Even Tyson Fury didn't want it anymore, because he knocked Tyson Fury down. But had he had that uppercut, he would have broke him a long time ago, right? Because that's how Hopkins beat that Pavlik. Bloodied his nose with that uppercut. He had nothing for the uppercut. The uppercut is a monster. So, people, make sure you check out the Bronze Bomber fight. You know, check out all his other fights.
Check out the Ali documentary, HBO. Check out John Wick 3. And then
Tia Sean, say happy birthday.
Let's see. Happy birthday to
Tia Sean.
Tayshawn. Oh,
Tayshawn.
Tayshawn.
Okay,
Tayshawn. Yep.
Okay.
Happy birthday, Tayshawn.
Happy birthday, Tayshawn. Go Deontay. That's right. Okay, people. So in the end, we're wrapping up. We're closing.
Yeah.
We appreciate you watching us.
Yes.
We're getting ready to go watch some Game of Thrones.
Final
Some Shy.
episode.
And then we're going to be back to talk about it because people have been down in it. And I
Yeah.
thought last week
Yeah.
was one of the best ones that I ever seen. She went in and the chorus. The chorus.
She did.
She burned it all up
Yeah.
for her friend.
And check out what Grey Worm's. What's his name? Let me look up his name.
Oh, Grey Worm. Yeah, well, let's
His
just say
real
Grey
name.
Worm.
His
But
interview on Hot 97 with Ebro.
On Ebro in the morning.
Great interview.
Great interview.
Because if
there.
you're a Game of Thrones watcher,
Yeah, you'll like
great
that.
interview. Yeah.
You know, so this has been another great
Yeah.
episode of the Film Review. Movies, music, culture, politics, and society. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D,
I'm Tracy.
and we review movies, music, culture, politics, and society. And we'll see you next Sunday on the Film Review. This is another great episode of the Film Review. We are the husband and wife team. We are the husband and wife team. We are the husband and wife team. Stay tuned. We're the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D.
Tracy.
And this is the Film Review. Stay tuned. We got a lot to talk about. We are the husband and wife team that review movies, music, culture, politics, and society. This is the Film Review. Movies, music, culture, politics, and society. We're the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D.
Tracy.
And we review movies, music, culture, politics, and society. Sunday at 5:30 on Crayzon Deeyon page on Facebook. Live stream. The Film Review. Movies, music, culture, politics, and society. This is the Film Review.